Okay. After 3 years of contraction, this ship management company, a global company, put on 10% of its customer base, added 10% to its customer base. And it did that by, if this will work, thank you, by putting 50% increase into its conversion rate from its prospecting activities. And that's what I'm going to show you how to do today. And if you think that 50%, oh, by the way, anybody interested in doing that? Is that something that could be valuable or useful? Okay, but if 50% isn't enough, this particular company, you might know their product, you might have toasted your toes on this particular product in the past. It tripled their appointment rate for its field sales team after 1 day of rethinking how they go about prospecting. So I normally say doubling is about the right sort of level from this. So, quick and easy, 3-step prospecting approach. I don't believe in complications and difficulties. Very simple, very straightforward. And I'll take you through what we did with those companies and quite a few hundred others that have done this. Step 1 is targeting. So, target prospect criteria. This is going to be fairly logical, but there's one thing in there which I'd like to focus on. Prospect attractiveness. You want to make sure that they're attractive because they're going to be valuable customers for income purposes and such like. Match to your business. That's valuable because if you match your customers, your potential customers, to your business, they're less likely to be stolen by your competitors. There's no point in getting a customer and losing it. Prospects' desired outcomes. That's what I want to focus on because that's where the magic happens. And expectation of purchasing, I think that's fairly expected. You want that to happen anyway. So I'm going to take the top 2 and I'm going to put them into a graph. Prospect attractiveness, low, high on the left-hand side. Across the bottom, good and poor match to your business, how well it matches your business. Now, all your potential customers out there, good, bad, indifferent, nightmares, the whole lot, are in this graph. Some of them up here, the high, attractive, good match, are going to be your real targets that you want to go for. Over here, we're not going to talk about those because those are the bad ones. In the middle, we have take them or leave them. It depends how desperate you are for sales. These over here, for obvious reasons, are going to be unlikely to engage because a bad match to your business is one of the key points about non-engaging. Down here, these are the most likely to engage, which might not sound like a good idea. And the reason they're most likely to engage is because these are not the good customers out there in the marketplace. They're the ones that nobody really wants, and they're looking for you. These are the ones that salespeople tend to focus on, the ones that are looking for discounts, the ones that have got credit control problems, or the other nightmares that you expect. So when salespeople actually get in front of these, they find that they're very attractive because they want a new supplier. Don't always go past the credit control point, but there you go. Up here, these are the ones you really want. They're the least likely or less likely to engage with you. Because if you think about your existing customers are good, loyal, they like you, you look after them. The ones you're after are your competitors' customers up here. These are the ones that you want to get, but those customers are locked in to your competitors. So these tend to be the hardest to win. That's what we're going to look at and how we're going to win those. The first thing I'm going to ask you to think about is the way you segment. Traditionally, we segment customers by SIC codes, size of company, type of industry they're in, and all those sort of things. I'm going to ask you to rethink that and move that into segmenting customers by the desired outcome the customer wants to achieve directly or indirectly as a result of the purchase. So you're not selling a product or service anymore, we're looking at the desired outcome the customer wants to achieve. So let's just take you through how that works. You're familiar with your product, you're familiar with the features of the product. In fact, actually, that's where most salespeople, particularly novice salespeople, tend to focus their selling, which is why they tend to think that cold calling and emailing doesn't work because it really doesn't work very effectively. It is the poorest implementation of prospecting. And then we have feature benefits. Feature benefits tend to focus, tend to attach to the product or service you're selling. So, for example, you may be familiar with Sage software. They do a series of software programs for accountancy software for smaller businesses. Now, if you think about the Sage software for smaller business, its feature benefit of it is it reduces the amount of time it takes to do the accounts and do your tax and do your payroll and all those sort of things. That's a feature benefit that attaches to the product. I'm going to go up one level, and we're going to look at the customer or client benefit, the way in which the customer or client gains, directly or indirectly, as a result of the product or service and the feature benefit. We're now getting into a much more powerful communication level. If we go up from there, or the customer and client benefit, by the way, for Sage is that, well, you're going to have more time to concentrate on your business. You're going to have more time for family life. You're going to get the life-work balance right. That's there. We now go up one level into desired outcome. Why does somebody want to have more time on the business? Because they want business growth, perhaps. Why does somebody want more time for family? Well, they might be having difficulties at home, might be divorced. I wouldn't use that, though, as a selling tactic. But desired outcome is where we need to concentrate. So let me give you some examples. One is business banking. And let's take small business banking as a service and look at how it fits in with that ladder. We start at the bottom, a small business loan for a small business company. Repayments over 10 years. The feature benefit is affordable funding. That attaches to the product. Now, if you've ever had any communications from your banks where they've actually said you can have a loan and everything else, they don't get off the first two levels. So their marketing is a little bit off. They don't even get to affordable in most cases. They just ask you, do you want a loan? If we go up next level, let's take a manufacturing company that is currently swamped with orders, it's struggling to keep up with demand, and they want to buy new machinery. Does that sound like a good customer to loan money to? If you then say, why do they want to buy new machinery? It's because the owners of the business want to meet that increased demand to build their business. When we go out in the marketplace to cold call and prospect and send out emails, we don't communicate down here because it just doesn't get you anywhere. No, that's wrong. It does get you somewhere because there are a few people out there desperately needing you, and they will respond. But also the bad customers tend to respond, so you get the wrong sort of reaction. But when you actually start hitting them with, and by the way, when you do this and you get up to this level where you're talking to people about buying new machinery, you have to actually do some research in their businesses. You have to be specific about what it is. So in this particular case, you'd look for companies that are constantly being flooded with orders. And you go to them and say, hey, do you need to buy some new machinery to meet increasing demand because we specialize in delivering that? So you start to get very focused. Let's look at another example. Same bank loan, affordable repayments. This time a small business wants to improve its cash flow. And you have to ask the question, why does it want to improve its cash flow? Because that determines whether you want this customer or you don't. And if you say, why do they want to improve the cash flow? It's to be able to keep the business trading, because they, at the moment, can't meet supplier bills, they can't pay the payroll, they're in trouble. Good customer? That's a red one. So I'm going to classify that as red, and it's not somebody we want. So if you went out and said, who wants a bank loan? Guess how many companies that are struggling with their businesses actually respond? More than people who actually want to grow their businesses. And that's the problem. Let me give you seals and gaskets, products, because some of you might be in a product business. Exciting stuff, seals, for the seal manufacturers. This is about an American company. It's one of the market leaders for producing seals. And this one is about one of their ranges, which is very high-class seals. And they last, the seals, about 100% longer. They're twice as long before they break down, and you have to do some repair work or maintenance work on plant and machinery, pumps and valves and all those sort of things. So let's have a look at how that works with a product. Replacement seals is what they sell, high-quality replacement seals. The feature is they're 100% longer seal life. What I didn't tell you was that they cost 5 times as much as conventional seals, or the industry standard seals. So you've now got 100% longer seal life. The feature benefit is half the downtime. So you're less likely to get downtime on plant, equipment, pumps, valves, and so forth. Now, let's assume we're targeting this at petrochemical companies, a petrochemical refinery at the top here. What is the advantage to a petrochemical refinery if you've got half the downtime from all your plant and equipment across the whole infrastructure? Well, you get higher production output. My question here is, how many refineries out there actually want higher production output? They can't increase their output any more than the amount of time that it runs because it's a fixed process. So if you actually already have, and this company has several refineries around the world, which it has put their seals in after it managed to get them in at 5 times the price, and they have testimonies to say that we're getting a much higher production output, significantly higher than the cost of the seals, by 100, 200 times. It gives the company income, higher income and profit. So when we go out in the marketplace to actually communicate with potential customers, if you go out to it, well, let's have a look at what happens with that. I'll come back to that one in a moment. Let's do a water company. Fewer plant failures, 100% longer seal life, replacement seals, same thing. And if you're talking about a utility company here, if you've got seals that don't break down quite as fast as the traditional ones, you've got 100% longer seal life, you get fewer service visits. If you've got fewer service visits, you're going to have lower servicing costs. How many companies out there, utility companies, water companies, gas companies, want lower servicing costs? Almost everybody. How many of them want seals that are going to be 100% longer seal life? That's where the problem lies. So who do we sell this to? Who do we sell lower servicing costs with fewer? And for those seals, it's every single company that's on this list, and a lot more. So we're talking about all sorts of different markets, all sorts of different sectors, all sorts of different sizes of organization and company, but they all want the same desired outcome, which is lower servicing costs, and we can sell that across the board to them. In fact, what I would do is put all these into one group, as you would with one segment, and call them all a customer group that desires lower servicing costs, and then we target those. So who should you approach with this? If we have replacement seals at the bottom here, we normally, and you'll most probably find that most seals company, and this particular American seal company were the same, when I first sat down with them, I said, who do you actually approach? They said, we approach buyers and we approach operational staff, the maintenance managers. Those are the people who organize seals and replacement seals for their companies. And I said, okay, so what's the problem? They said, well, they'll buy the conventional seals, but they won't buy 5 times as much. Why won't they buy 5 times as much? Because they're 100% longer seal life. Why won't they do that? And it's because, do you know any buyer that actually is going to say, hey, it doesn't resonate with buyers. 100% higher cost, or 5 times higher cost, does not resonate with buyers. And if you talk about now, it's going to be 100% longer seal life, the maintenance people are going to be saying, hey, that's my job up there. Yes? So these are 2 people who are not going to want to buy at 5 times the price, even if it is 100% longer seal life. As we move up the ladder, we're going to junior managers, fewer plant failures. We now come up to middle managers who want fewer sales visits. These people might have the authority to order and pay 5 times as much. If they do pay 5 times as much for fewer service visits, you've got 2 types of customer here. One that's going to say, well, what if it doesn't deliver twice the length of time? What if it doesn't work out and I paid 5 times? I'm going to have somebody sitting on my back here telling me this is a bad mistake you've made. You paid too much. However, if I've got a senior manager sitting on my back saying we need to get the service visits down, then I have a solution here for that particular customer. So we've got a much better chance of winning up this level, and down this level, very, very difficult to get a sale. If we go up to the senior decision maker, and that is somebody who has the authority to override everybody else. Say it's the production director, and you approach them with lower servicing costs, with evidence to support that it works, then you're going to be able to get almost every potential customer in the marketplace to say, you've just got an appointment to see me. That's how it works. So, what's the targeting process? How do I actually get companies to do this? How can you do this in company? Very simply, because it's not complicated, it's not difficult, you just got to get your head around it. Brainstorm. Get your sales team, marketing team, get the marketing people involved as well. They can improve your website and improve your marketing material as well. But brainstorm, get them together and say, first of all, look at your current customers, your current green customers. Which of those would you like to replicate? And that's the simplest way of actually identifying potential customers in the marketplace. If you are going to target customers who are going to be comparable to the companies or the customers you already have, use your existing customer base as the way of identifying who you're going to go for. The second thing there is list the desired outcomes you currently deliver for them. And you might say, but hey, we don't know that we deliver these things for our customers because nobody's ever asked. And that's usually the reason. But logically, no customer would ever buy from you if they were not achieving a desired outcome, and they certainly wouldn't stay loyal with you. So you do need to do a bit of thinking, brainstorming. It can take a bit of time to brainstorm because it's shifting mental attitudes. We are very familiar with, and we're very focused on what we sell, our products and services. We have 360 days a year we're tied in with our products and services. And hey, I'm asking you now to think customer. Get into the customer world, understand what the senior decision makers want to achieve and what you've helped them achieve. And then list the prospects, mirror other companies in the marketplace, other senior decision makers that you want to actually, who also want those desired outcomes. It's a very simple way of processing it. And then don't go and talk to customers, new customers. First of all, go back to your existing customers. And this is where the most important part is. Visit your green customers and ask them. You know, we've been doing some market research. It's very simple to do. We've been doing some market research, talking to our customers. They say that we've actually helped them to reduce the total servicing costs, et cetera, et cetera. You know, would you say that you found that has helped as well? And if they say, yes, it has, then ask if you can tell others. Get their permission to tell others. Do they know one or more people or businesses on your target prospect list? Take a list of the people you're targeting, make sure they match, and then ask them. Do they know? They'll grab the list from you. And then do they know others who could also benefit? Step two. Step two is very simple. It's called bait. What you're going to dangle in front of a potential customer. It's got to be relevant, it's got to be compelling, and it's got to be believable. And that's the way you measure what you're putting in front of a customer, and that's in your emails and your cold call and in your marketing. So let me give you some examples of bait. A way for a smaller business to meet growing customer demand and increase income and profit with minimal financial risk. That's bait for a bank to put in front of potential customers. Here's another example. A way for a manufacturer to increase production output for fractional cost, with the difference in the cost of the seals, by reducing machine downtime. That's bait. These are the things we sell. In fact, this is not just bait. This is your product. This is what customers buy. And then a way for a charity to measurably boost its income by covering VAT that it doesn't need to pay. Develop that bait with the VAT specialist consultancy practice. Any charity would buy that. So, step three, final step. And that is the approach. We've got to go out there and win them. So, 5 different cold call and email approaches. And I've got some examples of emails here so you can read them. Features and benefits, products and services, they're in red for the obvious reasons. Those are the least effective way of getting an appointment with a senior decision maker, or anybody for that matter. Generic desired outcome is where you say, we can help you achieve this, we can help you achieve that, we can help you make a profit on this, or whatever the case may be. It is a fallback if you can't do the 2 above, which is a customer connection and a personal connection. The personal connection is one where you have got a connection between your customer and a target person you're trying to get in to see, where they know each other. So let me show you an example of that for the personal connection one. I'll let you read that because it's going to be easier than me to. Can you all read it from the back? And it continues. That's an example of an email where you get a personal connection. Turn that into, sorry, that's a cold call. Turn that into an email. Read John Brown, Production Director at Northern Refineries. Are they going to open that? Is a gatekeeper going to reject that, bin it? They can't. It's impossible. Here's the email copy, the equivalent. And it goes on. And then you follow up with a phone call. If you can't get a personal connection, we use customer connections, which is you've got companies, your existing customers said, we don't mind you mentioning the fact that we've achieved this when you talk to somebody that we don't know them. So here's an example of that. And this, by the way, is a call to, this is a cold call, sorry, to any chief executive HR director of any company you like, and I bet you get a good return on this. Here it goes. I'd like to read that. Do you know what they're selling? Pretty obvious, isn't it? Executive cars. So, to summarize, this is the time is running. Make sure that your bait is relevant, compelling, and believable. When you sit down and you write your email copy or you put your script together or your thoughts together about what you use in the cold call, ask yourself the question, is it relevant to this particular customer? Is it compelling? Is it going to make that customer say, I want to know more? Does it raise curiosity to the point where they say, get in here now, I want to see you? Because that is what it should do. And you can do it if you actually get your desired outcome bait together. And it's got to be believable, which is why we use existing customers and we use referrals and references. And if you get a one-to-one connection, it's a very powerful way of getting in to see customers. So, quick summary. Segment and target by desired outcomes. Identify your potential customers not by who they are or what size they are, but by the desired outcome they want to achieve directly or indirectly from what you are selling. Step 2, make sure that you produce relevant, compelling, and believable bait. And the bait is the desired outcome. And the third thing is just communicate how they gain. It's as simple as that. It's a very simple process. It works very well. And the reason it works well is because when you approach customers with desired outcomes as your bait, they're probably not receiving that sort of message from their current customer, which allows you to be able to break in. Now, if you would like a copy of that, oh, by the way, then you land your catch. You've got to have a catch at the end, haven't you? So, if you'd like a free video copy of this presentation, it's going to be a little bit more timely with a lot more added in, then leave a business card or put your email address if you haven't got a card on that sheet of paper, and by the end of next week you will have a link to a free copy of that online. And you can show it to anybody you like, it'll be free. Okay? And by the way, if you don't think this affects your business, these are some of the many different businesses that I've done this with that have shown significant increase in their conversion rates as a result. And it does actually work with almost any business. Charities, dental practices, it's worked with everybody. And it's very logical, simple, and I do commend it to you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.